Hey guys, this is Ollie Reed, and you're listening to the Ollie Reed Sports Podcast. If you guys like what you see, make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, and make sure to find and listen to the Ollie Reed Sports Podcast on all the popular podcast platforms to get more college basketball content just like this. And we welcome you into the Ollie Reed Sports Podcast, your source for the news and notes around the world of college basketball and high school basketball in the Mountain State and beyond. And man, first of all, I want to apologize. I was going live here before, but I had some technical difficulties I had to deal with. But now we are back. I think it's been a few weeks. The last time we talked, I talked to Mr. Braden Hawthorne, WVU commit. And also, we got another WVU commit, Trent McLean. He used to play at Harvard Westlake, but now he's playing at SoCal Academy. It's first reported from the live stream from 24/7 Sports that he is committed to West Virginia, joining his fellow teammate from SoCal, Kelvin Odie. And now Darren DeVries now has 3 freshmen joining the WVU Mountaineers in the 2025-26 season for next year. And let me tell you, DeVries has been cooking. Just want to go ahead and first and foremost, just want to go get that out of the way. But man, first and foremost, if you guys don't already know, obviously the high school college basketball season has officially started. Week 1 is already in the book so far, and man, it has been one heck of a week. And just want to give a huge shout out to all the people of Xenia, Ohio, last week, as I went to my first ever Division I college basketball tournament for the total athlete tip-off in Xenia, Ohio, in the new Athletes in Action, the place that Coach John Jacobs, who's now the head basketball coach of Florida Atlantic, started out as a coach over there. And man, it was great. It was great being there and getting to meet some players and coaches. The teams from there, Valpo, obviously Liberty and Florida Atlantic, and Indiana State. It was a really good. It was a really good turnout. It was a really good turnout, and I was really happy that I was there. It's definitely a great feeling to be a part of all of that college basketball around the world. College basketball, being around like the mid-major teams, since it wasn't a pretty small town. Let me tell you, it was a really small town. I wasn't really expecting too much, not too many people to be there, but there was a lot. I mean, it was a packed house for both games, and it was very impressive. And definitely want to give my props to that guys and Athletes in Action for doing an incredible job of having that thing set up. But yeah, like I said before, want to get some news and notes. Obviously, you guys have heard about Kaden Metheny, 5th-year senior at Liberty University, former University High School grad and former University High School alum, state champion in 2019. Already having an impressive week. Had 16 points in that win over Valparaiso in the 83-63 victory. Liberty's off to an amazing 2-0 start. Well, also forgot to mention that Kaden Metheny, if you guys already have seen on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, that he hit the game-winning 3-point shot at Seattle University. And they were coming out they were already down by like 6 points with like a minute and 50 to go. And man, let me tell you something, it was impressive. It was definitely an impressive win for the Flames as they start 2-0 on the year. Definitely want to get in some impact players there. Before I go into that, obviously, this is impressive. I mean, Liberty's, I think they're in the mix in that top 100 spot on KenPom from what I recently saw earlier from last night. But I do know that, This team is a lot deeper than what it was last season. A lot of depth on their team because you already saw in the Seattle University game, like Coach Richie McKay, he put in like 11 guys on the floor in the first half. I've never seen that, and that just goes to show you like how many guys can play on that team. Obviously, with Colin Porter, um, another kid that's just right across from the West Virginia border, played at Ashland Blazer High School in Ashland, Kentucky. It's not too far away from Huntington, West Virginia. Little 5'10" guard. Obviously, he can throw the rock. He throws. I mean, sorry, he throws dimes. The man throws dimes, and he threw an absolute dime to my boy Kaden in that game-winning shot. Wasn't for Colin, that shot wouldn't have happened. Obviously, Zach Cleveland comes back. Both Cleveland and Metheny are Conference USA preseason favorites this year. And I know they got a Talon Peter kid coming off the bench. He was a D2 All-American last season, played at Arkansas Tech, very athletic. Owen Aquinto also is an impressive player coming right out the gate. He started the last few games. It's the first 2 games for Liberty. Excuse me. Yeah, really impressed me there. He's been averaging like almost a double-double. And yeah, I mean, this Liberty team, and they got some key pieces coming off the bench. I already mentioned before. Xander Yates, remember he transferred from Creighton a few years ago. Obviously, the coach's kid, Gabriel McCabe, as from what I heard from Metheny, excuse me, from Liberty's YouTube page from yesterday, that Kaden Metheny said that Gabriel McCabe was one of the more vocal guys on the team, and that really goes to show you that the leadership there is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, it really is, and I'm really happy that Metheny's having success there. The former University High School grad, and that they're actually having their home opener tonight against Carolina University. I think that's a D3 or a JUCO school. I think it might be a Division III school that they're hosting. But then the test is there's going to be some big road games. Obviously, next week they take on Florida Atlantic in Charleston at the Field 68 tip-off this weekend on Saturday and Sunday, and those games are going to be live streamed on YouTube on the Field 68 YouTube page, so make sure you guys go check that out. But I'll get to those top games here in a minute. But yeah, the Akron Zips as well, starting the season 1-1 on the year. They had a tough road test against Arkansas State last week. I mean, Arkansas State, you guys already know, they're one of probably the favorite to win the Sun Belt this year, the conference that the Marshall Thundering Herd are also in. But yeah, it was a tough overtime game between Arkansas State and Akron, but Arkansas State ended up holding on to the win 80-75. But man, what an impressive stat line here for Morgantown High School and 3-time state champion guard, Mr. Sharron Young. My boy finished with 15 points, went 6 of 8 from field goal range and 3 of 5 from 3 points. Hit 3 of his 5 shots from beyond the arc to close an overtime battle. He also had 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists in the win over Ohio Wesleyan. I saw the score here was 88-57 from what I'm seeing here right now. But I mean, I'm just gonna be honest with you guys. I mean, Sharron Young's been doing this since of all the 4 years that I've covered him, I knew that he was going to be a terrific ball player, and now it's starting to pay off. And there's a reason why Sharron has won 3 state championships at Morgantown High School, and it's because the kid is resilient. He is a fighter, and he's the reason why Akron's going to make it to the top of the MAC conference this season. And him averaging double figures in 2 games already. I did see a photo of him and his family, and obviously Coach Tallman getting to see him play in his first home game last week, which was really awesome. I mean, Metheny, along with the West Virginia guys that are there, the Akron Mountaineers, as I like to call them, it's Josiah Harris and, former Mountaineer James Okonkwo spent 1 year at North Carolina last season. And obviously Seth Wilson coming off the bench as a sharpshooter. This Akron team's going to go pretty far. And they also have a big road test tonight against St. Mary's College against the Gales. Other than Gonzaga, one of the favorites to win the WCC this season. Definitely going to be a huge challenge for the Zips. I do believe they're going to give them a close game, but I did see from ESPN that St. Mary's is actually a 14.5 favorite to win. Like I said, I'm not a gambler. I'm not really, for me that I'm not into that. But man, but whenever I saw, I'm like, that's crazy because Akron's still a really good ball club. They made it to March Madness over the last few years. I mean, don't sleep on the Zips. Don't sleep on the Zips this year, man. They are going to be legit. They are going to be a really good team this year, and yeah, they're good. They're really nice. And obviously Sharron as a freshman. Hopefully I think he'll get a few starting minutes this year. He's been getting a lot of minutes so far already. But we'll see where it takes place from there. Another Morgantown High School graduate, Mr. KJ McClurg. He started for Longwood in his second game over Morgan State. He scored 14 points in the win over Morgan State. But in a season opener, he had 13 points in the season opening win against Randolph College. That's a D3 school in Lynchburg, Virginia, the same city that Liberty is in. Just want to say KJ McClurg, he's a dog as well. Like I said, as I was also former teammates with him, along with Metheny. I mean, those two used to feed off of each other whenever they used to play with each other in high school. I mean, that was probably the best dynamic duo that I've probably ever seen ever covering West Virginia high school sports. And I know I know Longwood's gonna have a big year. I know last year they made it to the NCAA tournament and won the Big South Conference. But they did lose a pretty big game. They lost their first round. They lost the first round to the Houston Cougars. And we already know how good Houston is. But yeah, I do believe that KJ is going to lead this team. Obviously, he came from Cal UPA. Had an impressive stat line. I know he averaged like over 23, 24 points per game last season at Cal U and was a Division II All-American. So he's going to lead Longwood to the promised land. I know he's going to be a really good ball player. He's always had that dog in him, always had that chip over his shoulder, kind of had that underdog mentality. But I do believe that he'll lead Longwood back into the Big South contention and most likely will win the Big South Conference there moving forward. And Fairmont senior alum, I want to go ahead and make this out. Shout out to my boy Deshaun Good, former state champion forward, the 6'9" forward from Fairmont, West Virginia. Kind of shows a little bit of shades of Jalen Bridges a little bit. I've been saying this like since he was like a junior. I knew he was going to be a D1 ball player. It was just going to take some time. And now his time has come at formerly known as IUPUI, but now they're Indiana University of Indianapolis. And they had an explosive win over IU Columbus in their first game. And I see here Deshaun Good finished with 8 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists in his collegiate debut over IU Columbus, and finished with 5 points and 2 rebounds at the Centos Center whenever IU Indy was taking on Xavier. And obviously facing off a team like that early in the season, I think they only lost by 12, 15 points. But Deshaun did pretty good. I mean, him being the biggest guy in the team, I mean, that shows that, and that shows that IU Indy team is they're pretty decent. They're a pretty good team, keeping up with one of the best teams in the Big East Conference in Xavier. Giving them a game at the Centos Center is definitely something, and obviously Deshaun coming off the bench with 5 points and 2 boards definitely says a lot. But so far, that's what I have so far here. Wanted to go into notes about all the other scores from the first night of college basketball. I'm trying to look it up here right now. We have, as I mentioned before, Sharron Young, 15 points, 6 of 8 shooting from the floor against Arkansas State. Kaden Metheny, 16 points and two rebounds, 3 of 6 from 3 and 6-11 from the free throw from field goal percentage field goal range against Valpo. Excuse me. Marshall players, Obina Enochili Killen from Chapmanville had 18 points and 6 rebounds against D&E. And Michael Dawson also finished with 8 points, 5 assists, and 3 steals, 2 rebounds against Davis and Elkins, a D2 school in Elkins, West Virginia. As you know, Michael Dawson returning home to Huntington. Love to see that. Blake Barkley got his first collegiate points last Monday. 2 points and 4 rebounds in 7 minutes against Lehigh. And I already mentioned about Deshaun Good. And Mekhi Johnson from East Tennessee State, 5 points and 5 rebounds against Newberry in his sophomore season. Came from Huntington, originally from Huntington, West Virginia, but played at Huntington Prep his whole career. So those are all the scores from the first day of college hoops. And I wanted to mention this. Other news, like besides like all the West Virginia stuff going on, the Ohio State University are on a roll as they started the season with a bang as they defeated Texas and Las Vegas 80-72. They defeated Youngstown State 81-47 at home last night as well. John Rothstein's already mentioned about John Mobley. I mean, obviously, I got to see the kid. Dude's an absolute dog, straight up sharpshooter from deep, a really good defender on the perimeter. You know, buy stock now is what John Rothstein would say, and he already did last night, as he's had 16 and 14 points respectively. Because I think he had 14 points and shot 4 of 4 in the game against Texas. A big road win, especially the first game of the season. I remember coming back from Ohio and watching watching that game, and you know, John Mobley is it. He's the real deal. And then I think he scored 16 points in that win over Youngstown State. So that was a very big win for the Buckeyes, and I know they have a tough contest against Texas A&M at College Station at 9 p.m. I see that's one of our top games here, and this is the games to watch here for week. Well, hold on a second. I was going to mention this before, but I want to mention another freshman, Mr. Trey Johnson, another good shooting guard from Texas. He scored 28 points in back-to-back games against Ohio State and then against Houston Christian at home at the Moody Center. So, yeah, I mean, Texas, I don't think they've had a top scorer like this since Kevin Durant. I mean, this kid is legit. Just wanted to go ahead and put that out there. But here are my games to watch for week 2, starting tonight with Kansas and Michigan State and Duke and Kentucky playing the Champions Classic tonight. That's obviously going to be a big game. I already reposted this on X.com, as I already mentioned before. Former Mountaineer Kirk Carissa saying some words about Cooper Flagg, saying, I can't believe he's the first round. Obviously, everyone knows about Cooper Flagg, you know, top player in college basketball right now, alongside with RJ Davis and all those other guys. But Kirk Carissa is like, I can't believe he's already the first pick already in the drafts. So a little chippiness before the game begins. So that's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen there. I do believe this is going to be a tough game. I do feel like Kansas is going to blow up Michigan State. Michigan State, I mean, they are still a pretty good ball club, but Kansas is on another level. And obviously, it's the Big 12. We already know Big 12 is the Big 12 conference has and always will be one of the best basketball conferences in the entire NCAA. Obviously, you got Houston, Kansas, Baylor, Iowa State, and all those top teams out there. And Arizona. I mean, that's like 4 or 5 teams that are obviously going to be like, I think that's already the top 10 right there in the NCAA, like in the AP top 25 rankings as of right now. I mean, Kansas obviously got Hunter Dickinson in his 6th year. Transfer Zeke Mayo and Rylan Griffin. And obviously you got Juwan Harris coming back. I mean, Kansas is already looking really legit. I do believe that they have a really good team this year. Um, Obviously, they do every year, but I feel like this team is different. I mean, this is a team that's like, hey, this is like not even Elite Eight. This is like Final Four, written all over them. So yeah, I do feel like Kansas will beat Michigan State tonight. Um, but for Duke and Kentucky, John Shire versus Mark Pope. It's not Coach Cal versus Coach K anymore. It's a little weird. It's definitely a little weird. It's gonna take some time to get used to for all the college fans out there, college basketball fans who have watched um, Coach K and Coach Cal battle over the years. Um, but it's a new era. It's a new era of college hoops, and you know, both these are both blue blood programs. Both blue blood programs. You know, Duke obviously, Cooper Flag, Con Knuppel. Then they got Sion James from Tulane, Mason Gillius from Purdue. Um, and then obviously with Kentucky, you know, they got a lot of they got a lot of talented players as well on their team. Like I mentioned before, West Virginia transfer Kirk Carissa, now Scott Lamont Butler from San Diego State. You know, everyone is reloaded in the transfer portal. And it's definitely going to be a tough matchup, but I do expect the Blue Devils to pull this one off. Just because I feel like they have, I feel like more talent wise, but I feel like they work hard as well. And that's another team that I feel like is going to make the Final Four easily. But in college basketball, you never know what to expect. So, but I do believe that is going to be a tough game. North Florida at Georgia tonight. Obviously, the game to watch after because North Florida, the Ospreys, which Alex Vargo, another West Virginia native, played at Wheeling Park High School, plays for the Ospreys, but it hasn't really been getting any minutes this year. But man, North Florida's been on a tear so far this season. Already knocked off 2 Power 5 opponents in South Carolina in their first game in Columbia, and then obviously beating Charleston Southern their second game, and then last weekend getting the beat, playing Georgia Tech in Atlanta and beating them by 30. That is insane. This early in the season and already 2 Power 5 conference wins under their belt. The Ospreys looking like a potential ASUN favorite and a potential Cinderella team that could make it into the NCAA tournament. I mean, that is insane. I mean, I've been covering college basketball I've been watching college basketball since I was like 8 or 9 years old, like since I started getting into basketball. And let me just tell you something. I mean, it's different, you know. I mean, I haven't really seen anything like this from a mid-major team to start off the season. So, yeah, I do believe North Florida is going to go far, and hopefully we get to see some playing time for Alex Vargo here soon. Obviously, a big Florida matchup happening tonight between Florida Atlantic and UCF. As I already mentioned before on my Twitter page about Nicolo Moretti, the Illinois transfer, I do believe that he is he has come off the bench, but I do believe he has some potential to get some starting minutes because, you know, they do have some talented guards in Leland Walker and Kiki Tandy. Both really impressive guards. I've already seen Kiki Tandy before, first started off playing at Xavier, and then last season whenever he played at Jack State. And then you got another NBA prospect in Baba Miller. Which, I mean, Florida Atlantic, they still have the talent to win out in the American Conference, and, you know, obviously trying to keep up with Memphis, and taking on a team like Central Florida on the road. I mean, that's definitely going to be a very tough challenge for them. And obviously for first-year head coach John Jacobs. But I do believe that they have a chance to win that game. I mean, it's all now possible. I mean, it's a new season. It is a new season for both these teams. UCF is a sleeper team in the Big 12, and Florida Atlantic is still trying to show that they're a dominant team with a new coaching change. I mean, it is all now possible that Florida Atlantic can win this game, but it is still going to be they still have a long non-conference slate ahead of them. I do know they do play Michigan State next month, so it's going to be a challenging year. But I do believe that Florida Atlantic is still one of the best teams in the American Conference, and I do believe that they will make it back to March Madness in year one in the John Jacobs era. So it's going to be a huge matchup between the two teams. Field 68 tip-off classic, as I already mentioned before, Charleston versus Florida Atlantic Friday at 7 p.m. Then Florida Atlantic versus Liberty Saturday at 6 p.m. And then Liberty and Charleston at 4 p.m. Eastern. These are all Eastern Standard Time, and they're all going to be on the Field 68 YouTube page. And obviously, you know I'm not going to leave here without talking about my West Virginia Mountaineers, right? The West Virginia Mountaineers they're a good team. I'm just going to say they're a good team. I'm not going to go all the way and say they're going to be one of the top teams in the Big 12. No. But I will say this. I will say that this is going to probably be the most improved team in the Big 12 under the first in the DeVries era in the first year of Coach DeVries. Because obviously Tucker DeVries been on a tear. He's leading the team in points. Jonathan Powell is a sleeper freshman, not just in the Big 12, but in the entire NCAA. Amani Hansberry has been playing pretty good, as reported by Rothstein, that he thought he was good. That he thinks that Amani Hansberry, another Illinois transfer, is going to be a breakout player in the Big 12. And obviously another Illinois transfer, Sincere Harris. Man, what a dog on defense. I mean, we needed somebody like this. And another guy that plays defense that we've already known about, Toby Okani, the University of Illinois Chicago transfer. He is another good player as well. And the reason why he's a starter is because he's a dog. He's an absolute dog, a glue guy on the floor, really athletic. We saw that alley-oop dunk against Robert Morris. So yeah, two good wins, Robert Morris, and then obviously had a tough game against UMass and still won that game, even though it was sloppy in the end. But Mountaineers they were still able to get the job done, which was good. But now they have a bigger test at Pittsburgh, at the Pete. Definitely going to be a very interesting matchup there. Obviously, Pittsburgh, they do lose Blake Hinson and Bub Carrington from last year's team, which they're already gone to play in the NBA. But they do have Jalen Lowe back again. They got the Diaz-Graham brothers. They got Zach Austin. They got Houston transfer Damian Dunn. Pittsburgh still has some good players. In my opinion, they're still I think they're a top 5 team in the ACC. And West Virginia, not even a sleeper. People don't think West Virginia is a sleeper team. But other than UCF, West Virginia is pretty good too. I do believe that even though West Virginia is still going to be right in that bottom half of the Big 12, but not at the very bottom, but like I was saying, up the top of the bottom, if you know what I mean. West Virginia is still a really good team. They can still battle it out with any team in the country. I know I'm saying this as early as possible. I know I'm saying this early, but I do believe that West Virginia is going to have a solid record, and hopefully they can be a potential bubble team heading into March Madness. And it is going to be a good game. I don't know who's going to win that game. I do believe it's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tight contest between the two schools, since obviously it's a rival game. We just don't know what to expect because, a rival game is always going to happen. But it is going to be a very good game. I do believe it's going to be a very good game between those two teams. Already mentioned Ohio State at Texas A&M Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Bama at Purdue. Two teams that made it to the Final Four last year. They played each other in the Final Four last year. And that's going to be on Peacock Friday at 7 p.m. Another Florida matchup on Friday night, Florida State versus Florida, 6 p.m. on the ACC Network. Marquette at Maryland. I remember John Fanta tweeted this out, saying that it's going to be a huge game at College Park. Obviously Marquette, another big team in the one of the best teams in the Big East, obviously. And then obviously Maryland having the potential to be a pretty good team in the Big Ten. Obviously with Derek Queen, one of the best freshmen in the country, one of the best big men in the country, not just as a freshman, but one of the top big men in the entire NCAA in Division I. So that'll definitely be a big matchup Friday on Fox Sports 1 at 8 p.m. Eastern. Colorado State at Ole Miss. That's going to be on ESPN Plus on Saturday at 4 p.m. That is also going to be a pretty good game. And then obviously New Mexico St. John's Sunday at noon on Fox Sports 1. That's another big game as well. And shout out to my boy Brady Dunlap, who was here on the podcast here last summer. I remember we talked about him improving his game, and he scored his career high 20 points against Quinnipiac last week. Something I wanted to mention there. And I do believe that even though he's coming off the bench, I do believe he does have the potential to be that guy that Rick Pitino is going to be calling for to make some big plays in 24-25, and especially a big game for the Johnnies in week 2 on Sunday as they take on the Lobos and Donovan Dent. Well, that's going to do it for the Ollie Reed Sports Podcast. I know I talked your guys' ear off. Hopefully we can get either Metheny or Young in here soon. But as you guys already know, I mean, these college athletes, they do a lot. So, I mean, they are really busy with schoolwork, with games, with practice and everything. And, you know, it is going to be tough trying to get some college players in here. But with college basketball analysts and the West Virginia high school basketball players as well, I mean, I'll definitely get those guys in here as soon as possible for you guys. But for right now, college basketball season is here. The first week is in the books. Excited for week 2. And hopefully I'll be back on the podcast sometime later next week. And I'll let you guys know whenever I'm live the next time. But until then, this has been Ollie Reed Sports Podcast with Ollie Reed. And this has been episode 6 and heading on to episode 7 here sometime next week. And man, all I'm saying is we're back, baby. We are so back. I love you guys. Keep on keeping on. I'll see you guys next time.